Hello, hello, hello. I am Chelsea.
And I'm Sammy, and this is Deepish. Hi, guys.
Hi. We have Erykah on the podcast today. Mm-hmm. She's so cute. She's kind of known her persona on the internet as the bishop's wife. She started making content on things she doesn't subscribe to.
She gets into her breaking out of the norms of the LDS church and practicing a lot of different things that typical leaders in the church don't do, which I thought was really cool. And me, as someone who's left the church, it was really interesting to have conversations with her around the church changing and a lot of the controversial topics that come up in the church. I loved her perspective on so many different things, and just hearing from someone who has different opinions and lives a different lifestyle as I do, I think it was really great. And she also gets into her weight loss journey. She recently lost 100 pounds and talks about her transition with that.
And just her upbringing in general was super interesting, where she started from. We talked about religion a lot of the conversation, but there's so much to her. Literally losing 100 pounds, that whole journey, her self-image, body, how her relationship is with food, everything was so refreshing to hear, honestly.
Mm-hmm. And she recently has started to post a lot more on TikTok and Instagram and be a lot more public about her journey and her life. And she's become a really fun person to follow. So you guys should go follow her. And we really think you're going to love her story.
Yes. And here is Erykah.
Okay, you guys. Today's episode is sponsored by Cozy Earth.
We've both been using their bamboo sheets, and I am obsessed.
I know. They are butter.
The softest sheets I've ever felt in my life. People always equate the gold standard to hotel sheets, and I've never understood that. I go to a hotel, I'm like, these are scratchy, they itch. I do not like them.
They're starchy. These are the opposite of that. You get in and you want to just rub your body all over because they're just silky, buttery, smooth.
And cooling. They're breathable luxe sheets. They're lightweight and actually help you regulate your body temperature while you sleep, which is a game changer.
And did you actually know that when your body is cooler at night, it helps you produce more melatonin, which helps you get a deeper sleep? And being cooler at night also helps you produce more serotonin, which means you wake up in a better mood.
Yes, please sign me up every single night.
Being cool at night is so important.
Because have you ever just woken up in the middle of the night and you're just sweaty and like fever dream? Do you not know where you are? This is the exact opposite. You wake up feeling, oh, I just want to get in bed right now, honestly.
I know. And before we got Cozy Earth sheets, Hayden used to always sleep on top of the blanket, on top of our duvet cover, because he just hated how hot under the sheets was. But now, ever since we switched to Cozy Earth, he sleeps underneath the blankets with me finally, because the sheets are that cooling, which is a testament in itself.
If you want to try them out for yourself, go to cozyearth.com and use code DEEPISH for 40% off.
That is amazing.
Yes.
40% is actually crazy.
You get a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty, which you honestly have nothing to lose. I can't wait for you guys to try them out.
We know you guys are going to love them, so go check out Cozy Earth. And thank you, Cozy Earth, for sponsoring this episode. Erykah, welcome to Deepish.
Hi, thank you.
I'm really excited to get into your intro because I feel like I've known you since high school, junior high.
Yeah.
But I went to Orem part-time in Timpanogos, and I also went to Oak Canyon and Canyon View. So I'm having a hard time placing how and where you were during all of that.
Yeah, you're gonna die because I was the same way.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
I
gosh.
did 7th and 8th grade at Oak Canyon.
Okay.
And then 9th grade at Canyon View.
Was that the same with you?
But you're a year older,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I did 7th grade at Oak Canyon. So we would have been there together.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Then I followed you there because then Canyon View, I did 8th and 9th at
Wasn't
Canyon
it such
View.
a better experience?
Such a better experience.
I hated Oak Canyon.
Yeah, I hated it. I had the worst experience my 7th grade year, and then 8th and 9th loved. Amazing. And then, yeah, I went to Orem High until halfway through my junior year. And then I was hanging out with all Timpanogos people. And then I transferred to Timpanogos. And I'm like, back with these Oak Canyon peeps,
You're
I
like,
guess.
and we're here.
Yeah. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Orem, born and raised Orem, Utah, my whole entire life. I lived in St. George, like sophomore year of high school. But then we came back to Orem.
Just in the same house, same neighborhood your whole life for the most part?
No, so my mom had me at 17. She was super, super young. And so we kind of just lived this life of 1-year leases. And so I moved so many times, but it was all within a 15-mile radius of Orem.
I'm glad she kept you in the same spot because it was probably hard to move so much. But then if you're staying in the same schools.
I kind of got to the point where I liked being the new girl. It was fun. I was actually, I'm ready for a change because I went to 3 different elementaries and then 2 different junior highs and then 3 different high schools. I did my sophomore year in St. George. And then I came back to Orem and did my junior year in Timpanogos. And then I did senior year at Orem High.
Okay.
Did you like Timpanogos better or Orem?
Orem.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
That's
more
so
of that
cute.
Canyon View vibes, but that's where all my friends were too. So when I came back from St. George, it's like hard when you move away in those years, you kind of lose all your friends.
Totally.
And then you have to come back. And even though I grew up with all these people my whole entire life, it was still one of those things that I'm like, are we friends? Do we really know each other? So it was just relearning all of that.
Was that kind of fun senior year coming back to Orem? It's like Erykah Tucker's back.
She's back.
You're like, hey boys, I'm back.
No,
for some
it
more
was fun. It was weird because, you know, when you have those just really silly dating relationships in junior high, and then years go by and you go back and you're like, what were we doing? That was the weirdest part was I was like, oh, I dated these guys when I was 9th grade, 8th grade. And then I came back in senior year and I'm like, oh, we're so different.
Which that's like your last memory of them. So it's like picking back up where you left off. It's interesting. Okay, so going back to your mom had you at 17. Did she end up marrying your biological dad or were they ever together at all?
No, they had me. And then my dad met another woman and he got married to her and then had kids with her. And then my mom just had me. It was just me and her for a while.
So has she had any more kids since?
Yeah, so I have 3 siblings on my mom's side, and then I have 7 siblings on my dad's side.
Did he stay with your stepmom that whole time?
So they were together for the first 5 of their kids. So they had 5 kids together, and then they got a divorce, and then he had 2 kids with another lady.
Were you 50-50 between your parents?
No, I didn't have a really good relationship with my dad. And so my grandma, my dad's mom, when she was alive, she would come and grab me all the time. And then that's kind of how I had a relationship with my dad. But other than that, no, I hated going there actually on the weekends. It was really rough.
How is it now, your relationship with him?
So my dad actually is a heroin addict.
Oh my gosh.
And so he lived on the streets for the last probably 5 or 6 years in Salt Lake. And he was getting in so much trouble. And he's not from here. He's from Chile. So he ended up getting deported. So he's not even around.
How is that for you? Because you didn't have a very strong formative bond with him. Is it kind of like you're low-key a stranger, but I should feel upset, but also I'm not super close with you?
It's so confusing because it is one of those things where now that I have my own kids, I think that's where my eyes get open because I see my husband with my kids and I'm like, I've never had this. I've never ran to my dad when he came home from work. I've never wanted to sit on my dad's lap and cuddle with him. And so when I see my kids, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what it's supposed to be like. And I'm so grateful for that. I don't know if it's a blessing that it's not as hard because it's one of those things where it's like I've already grieved the loss of not having my biological dad. And now I just get to live this life vicariously through my children and the love that they have for their dad. And I kind of just call it a day, honestly.
It's almost like you're getting healed through a lot of daddy issues with your husband and your kids.
100%.
And then also it's okay to let go of that. I should have this relationship with my dad or expectation. Letting go of that is very freeing. And then I get to build whatever life I want and however that looks.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But when you were growing up, did you have issues with that?
No, I really did because he got married and he had all these kids and he spent so much time with them. And I'd see them post on social media and he's like, oh, me and all my kids and this is what we're doing. And then I was not in the picture. So I was like, well, it's not all of your kids. You have some of your kids. And since I was the oldest one and I was the only one from my parents, I kind of have always felt this weird isolation between my mom's side and my dad's side because they all have each other and they have that bond of we have the same mom and dad. Yeah, same mom and dad and then same on my mom's side. And so it's been one of those things that has always messed with me that I'm just like, where do I fit in? I almost wish my parents would have had at least one more kid so I could at least have a sibling that were like, we have the same together. Mom and dad.
Did your mom get remarried? So what was your relationship like with him? Did he kind of fill those dad roles for you or was it a little bit complicated?
It was a little complicated. I'm not going to lie. So he's still a part of my life now. But as our childhood, he had a lot of demons and he had a lot of alcohol issues. So as a father growing up, it wasn't the best role model.
When you look back on your childhood, was it a painful childhood or do you feel like you still have a lot of happy memories?
I think my brain has honestly shielded me from a lot of it because when people ask about childhood and stuff like that, I really don't remember anything past probably junior year in high school or anything before junior year in high school. I have completely wiped my whole childhood out because I just don't want to remember it.
So it was pretty traumatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty hard. It wasn't the ideal. I have my mom and my dad and we're just this one big happy family. It was really rough. And I don't think anyone knew what I was going through throughout elementary and junior high and even into high school. I really think I just put a very good show on.
Did you lean into being with your friends a lot and distracting yourself with friendship and relationships and things like that?
Looking back, the way that I handled things because of my home situation and my dad's situation, I needed attention from men. And I mean, I guess at that point it wasn't men, but I needed attention from boys because I didn't have that from my dad. And it was just so unhealthy. And I started partying really, really young. And I just experienced a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't have experienced at such a young age. But I think I was just trying to
cope.
Yeah, I was just trying to numb everything else that was going on in my life. And that's how I did it.
What was your religious experience growing up? Were you guys pretty LDS or
No,
were you raised LDS?
I was baptized and that was about it. We maybe went to church every once in a while, but like I said, from my memory, it wasn't a huge role that played in my life. I would never call myself Mormon or LDS. I just was like, yeah, I was baptized and because that's what you do at 8 and that's about it.
Did you ever feel any of that lack? Because I'm guessing a lot of your friends are probably pretty active LDS growing up in Orem, Utah.
Yeah.
Were you ever feeling like, oh, we don't really go, or I wish that we did go or anything? Or was it just like, oh yeah, my mom doesn't make me go to church?
It was a little bit of both. My mom was young and my parents, they would drink and I was allowed to wear tank tops and shorts. So I for sure remember being that family that other parents were like, don't hang out with Erykah. They don't go to church. Her mom's young and she's single and the way she dresses, it was for sure more isolation, but I didn't really care. Yeah. I just was like,
whatever.
Okay.
So you probably don't have a lot of traumatic religious experiences growing up where your mom's shaming you for the tank tops or whatever.
Yeah.
Your family was probably pretty accepting of most people and all of those things.
Yeah, because a lot of my family too they're not members, even still to this day. My aunts and my uncles and my grandparents. So my upbringing, I just saw people living their life and they were great people and that was really it. So I had no religious trauma.
What about rules? Did you have strict curfews and things, or were you kind of just left to your own devices with your mom being single? I mean, I guess she got remarried.
It's funny though, because I remember my mom, because I was her oldest, and so she did expect a lot from me. So I needed to have really good grades and I had expectations from her. I did have a curfew, but other than that, it wasn't like I did a lot of cleaning in my house, but that was about it. I had chores and then I could do what I needed to do or what I wanted to do.
Did you do a lot of babysitting with the younger kids?
Oh, yeah. Mom over here.
Yeah, I'm sure. So then what did you do after high school? What was that experience like for you?
I really wanted to go to hair school. And then my family sat me down and had an intervention and they were like, no, you have to go to college. And I was like, wait, why? And they just were like, it will be the biggest mistake of your life if you go to hair school.
It's so funny that there was such this reputation, I feel like, especially around the time we graduated from high school, about hair school. I remember my brother being like, oh, don't be one of those hair school girls. But then I have friends that do hair who are making 6 figures.
Amazing.
Like, you didn't know with extensions and how much you can charge. It really is a good career.
And it's like your own business. And just trade school in general was very looked down upon. And it was like, you have to have a college degree to get anywhere in life. And that's so not the case anymore.
No.
But back in the day, it was, I understand the pressure from our parents because when they were growing up, it was like you had to have a degree, get any type of job.
Yeah.
But now you can make money so many different ways.
No, honestly. And I was the first grandchild to graduate from high school. And then I was the first one to go to college within my whole entire family. And so I think they were more trying to live vicariously through me and being like, none of us did it. We need you to do it.
You'll be the change in the family.
You'll be the one. And so I did. I went to UVU and I got my bachelor's in behavioral science and I've done absolutely nothing with it.
So looking back, are you kind of mad? You should have let me go to Paul Mitchell.
No, really though, because at least I could be cutting my kids' hair.
The bare minimum.
Bare minimum, I could be saving on some haircuts.
Yeah. And your whole family could be saving on getting their hair done.
That's what I said. I'm like, well, go spend
They
your
out here
$200 on your hair because I could have been helping you on that one.
But behavioral science, you got them.
I don't think you got trauma.
Yeah.
Me too. Let's talk about it.
Okay, so then you went to UVU. At what point did you meet your husband?
We met right after I graduated high school that summer of college. We met at a UVU party.
Oh, nice. One of the Halloween or
in the
dance
parking
parties?
lots. Yes.
Okay, nice. Love it. What was that interaction like when you guys met? Just he came up and was grinding on you or what?
Basically. Just this little RM just doing all the crazy things. It was just at a party. My group and his group started hanging out. And we hung out for maybe a year and a half before we even started thinking we had feelings for each other.
So you guys built a friendship before that?
Yeah.
And then how was that transition from friends into something more romantic?
It was weird because
Really?
we had talked so much. I would see him bring girls over because I'd hang out over at their apartment all the time. So I'd see him do his thing and I'm like, I think I know too much. And then
Know the playbook. You're
yeah,
like,
yeah. You can do that to me. But then we finally just were like, okay, we do like each other. And we just had to stop denying it. But yeah, dating was hard with him.
So when you were dating him, you said he was an RM. Was he pretty religious? Because this is something I struggled with. When you graduate from high school, you feel like you kind of have to pick a lane of like, what kind of guys am I going to date? Am I spiritual enough for them? Or was that ever a debate? You guys obviously built a friendship. He got to know you. Maybe he didn't care. Were you going to church on your own?
No, not at all. I was for sure still in my party phase. I was drinking, I was doing all the things, and I was just having fun. And my husband's 6 years older than me. So he had been home from his mission for a while, and he did grow up extremely LDS, but he also grew up in Tonga. So I feel like it's a different type of LDS over there. They are very respectful of it. They don't have a lot of outside noise that we do here in America. And he's like, I didn't have a TV growing up. I didn't have the internet. So they leaned on their faith a ton. And so when he came home from his mission and he stayed in America, I think he just kind of wanted to try all the things. So we were both in our phases of experiencing. I'd been drinking for a while at that point, and he was still kind of dabbling into things. But I remember him telling me, I hate when girls drink. And I was like, well,
shots.
I'm like, I'm having a good time. And so it was one of those things where we had to learn about each other and see what we liked and what we didn't like. And that's when I got to know him. And even though he wasn't following the religion and doing what he should have been doing as a returned missionary or as someone who grew up very religious, he always knew that he wanted to get married in the temple. And I always knew that. So it was always in the back of my head. If I'm going to do this, is this for me? Is this something that I really want to jump into? And so about 19 years old, I started going to church and trying to figure out if this is something I want to do, because it wasn't an option for him to not get married in the temple.
So at 19, were you guys dating at that point or just friends?
We were dating at that point.
So did it start out like, I want to do this kind of for him? And then it tumbled into, oh, wait, maybe this is a good fit for me as well.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think if I met him, I wouldn't have been so interested in seeing if it was something for me.
But what do you mean it was hard dating?
We broke up so many times. It was one of those things where he just wouldn't want to commit at first. And so we were dating and playing boyfriend and girlfriend, but not boyfriend and girlfriend. And then we would break up and we'd get back together, and then we'd break up and get back together. And so the last time I was like, if we get back together, you have to marry me. I'm not doing this anymore.
Did the church have anything to do with those breakups, get back together?
I think we were just both doing things we shouldn't have been doing. We were sleeping together. We were doing all the things. We had a really long repentance process once we decided to get married. And so I think we were just playing with fire, and it was chaos.
And I feel like every on and off relationship always ends at that point where if we get back together, we're actually doing it this time.
Yeah.
None of this back and forth.
Yeah.
That's how it ends or begins.
Which is insane, because when I think about the timeline, I had no business putting that into the universe. I was like 19, 20 years old. Erykah, please. You
Looking back on it,
probably should have lived your life a little bit longer. But yeah.
But at that age, you take it so seriously.
So
like, you're like, we're in
seriously.
love and we need to get married. So what was that repentance process like for you guys?
I mean, we just really could not be alone, like, ever. My mom was always like, you sure you guys want to go downstairs? And I'm like, probably not, but we're going to. So yeah, it was about 9 months.
Wow. So you ended up getting married in the temple.
We did, yeah.
So is a lot of his family still over in Tonga?
No, they all are here now.
They're all here now. So they could all be at your wedding and all of those things.
Yeah.
Cultural experience different for you? Did you know a lot about that culture?
Yeah, my stepdad is actually Samoan.
Okay.
So all of my siblings are Polynesian except me. And so I did have an idea of the Polynesian culture. And I always tell my husband, if I didn't grow up with a Polynesian dad, I don't think we would have lasted. I think we probably would have been divorced already, because the culture is, I don't want to say difficult, but they're just so rooted in it that it's very hard to sway them in a different direction. And they're very family oriented. And I remember our first year of marriage and his family would call for money all the time. And I'm like, we have no money to give you. What are you talking about? And he always would. So it was one of those things that we had to, he Americanized and I brought in the Tongan culture a little bit more too.
In-laws are already hard as it is. So I'm sure this is like 10x.
Yeah.
I'm sure you love his family, obviously, but it's very close.
Yeah. Luckily, he only has one sister. So
okay.
I lucked out on that one, because I feel like if there would have been more sisters, I think it would have been a lot harder.
And when you met him, probably really comforting and familiar to you, where you're like, okay, I've seen this culture modeled in my own family, and this feels like home to me.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of scary too, because like I said, my stepdad growing up wasn't the best example. And my mom begged me. She was like, please do not marry a Polynesian. Don't marry a Polynesian. And I know that every race has their issues, but that was just my mom's experience within the Polynesian culture. And so he was the first Polynesian I ever dated. And then I ended up marrying him. And I was like, I'll never marry a Polynesian. I'll marry some like cute white farmer or something.
So now, being so immersed in the Polynesian culture and raising your kids in it and everything, are there certain stereotypes that you feel like aren't accurate, or things you've been surprised by being in that culture?
Yeah, some people always say, oh, is he super lazy? Does he make you do everything? And I'm like, no, I have the most hardworking husband, and he's very self-sufficient. Even when it comes to going to family functions, you'll see a lot of the wives make their husband's plate of food, and my husband hates when that happens. Everyone's like, Erykah, go make him some food. I'm like, he doesn't want me to. He can do it himself. And I'm also very much that personality where I'm like, no, you have 2 arms and 2 legs. Go make your own food.
The Polynesian culture, would you say it's very traditional?
Yes, as in gender roles.
Yeah.
Yeah. The wives stay home and cook and clean, and then the husbands do
Go out
and work and then come home and want to
meal and the house clean.
Yes.
And everything like that.
You'd mentioned that your husband's a bishop and it's of a Polynesian ward, right?
Yeah.
When you were talking about it, you're like, I wish everyone could experience a cultural ward. And I was like, that sounds amazing, because even just listening to you talk about his upbringing, it feels like they're more into the faith and the spirituality connection with God and the church. He probably surpassed a lot of that toxic Utah culture, right?
Yes.
Do you feel like the traditional Polynesian culture, you said it's a lot better in that ward, but with it being so traditional, do they really lean in heavy to the patriarchy of the church and those traditions?
From my experience, I don't feel like they do, just because I feel like they're more focused on loving God and serving others, and then everything else doesn't seem as big of a role. And I think that's why I've had such a good experience, because when I started going to church at 18, I went to a young single adult Polynesian ward. So what kind of dipped my toes into it was meeting these people that didn't care how I dressed, didn't care how I talked, and they just were so happy that I was there, and they showed me so much love and compassion. And I was like, oh, this is what it is. It's like a community of people that love, and you get to worship, and you get to have belief in a higher being. And I was like, okay, I'm down with that.
I know, it's so crazy. Within the church, there are these different ethnic based wards and different kind of communities within that. Because my father-in-law was the bishop of the Spanish ward. My mother-in-law is now the Young Men's president. But it is very different. Just the Latin community is so in everyone's business, and it's a lot of pressure and so many events, and hearing them talk about it, I think it's more of a family. They're all so close, but it's also a lot more pressure, I feel like, than a traditional white Provo ward. It's interesting within the church. There are different facets.
Yeah, subcultures, and everything is so different. And so I think that's when you see people overgeneralize the church. They don't think some people remember that everyone has their own different experiences based on what their subculture is and what they're experiencing on their own terms.
And just their experience with family and tradition and things like that, where it's very ingrained. It's probably for him versus you. You guys probably have very different experiences with religion in general.
Yes, and that's one thing that's kind of surprised me, because he did grow up very, very LDS, and I didn't. And the way that he meets me and the way that I want to raise our children has just been so fulfilling to me, because you're not trying to put what you grew up with on me or my children.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because I could see it going really, really bad if someone who did grow up very LDS, he knows all of the stories. He knows everything. And I'm like, I don't know nothing.
Who's Nephi again?
I'm like, who's that? My kids probably know more than I do because they go to primary and they're learning these stories and they love it. And so I learn more from them than I ever have my whole entire life.
But I love that because it adds such a balance to your guys' family. It's not just two parents who are on exactly the same page and it's black and white. There's so much growth and room for flexibility within that. So after you guys got married, how was your relationship and how was your relationship with religion at that point?
I'm trying to think. It's been so long. But I feel like after we got married and things, it was just like normal. We went to church. He traveled a lot for work. So I would go to Sacrament by myself and then I'd just come home. And that was how it was for a couple of years. We weren't like going to the temple every single day or anything like that. But we felt so blessed with what we had at that time. And we just gave our thanks to God. Mm-hmm. And I kind of think that's where we've just kept it this whole entire time, is just being thankful for what we have and believing in a higher power. For us personally, it's just comforting. And then all of the nitty gritty stuff wasn't ever there.
After you guys got married, did you guys work for a little bit? When did you start deciding to have kids?
Yeah. So I worked at a bank for 6 years and I was going to school at the same time. And then I had Lena all in the mix of that.
Okay.
So we were both working. I was in school, then I had a baby, and then...
How was that transition into motherhood?
Oh, it was so hard.
So hard?
It was so hard. And I always told myself, I'm like, no, I don't want kids, or I didn't want kids till I was a lot older. And then I had Lena at 22.
22.
Yeah.
Was that planned? Were you guys ready for that chapter?
In my head, I was like, oh yeah, I want a baby. But I think it was just the idea of wanting a baby, because honestly, I probably shouldn't have had a baby at that point. I love her, and don't get me wrong, it's the best decision I've ever made. But I think just in our situation and our time of life, I think waiting a little bit longer would have been ideal.
You're ready for a baby, but maybe not ready for motherhood and to be deeply immersed into all of that.
But like I said, I had a bunch of siblings. I'm the oldest. So I already felt like I was a mom. So I was like, let's actually get the self-fulfillment of having it actually be mine. And so it was difficult, like any transition into motherhood. It was hard, but I loved it. And then I didn't have to work anymore at that point. So then I could just stay home with her.
Sweet. I'm out.
Yeah.
Bye, bank.
Yeah. See you later.
So how many kids do you have now?
I have 3.
3. Okay. And what's their age gap?
So Lena's almost 11. Then my son is 7. And then I have a 5-year-old.
Is this the golden years? I imagine.
Oh, yeah.
I picture the time where I don't even have kids yet, but I'm like, I can't wait till my kids are like 10, 8, and 6, and we can travel together and they're sleeping through the night and they're just developing their own personalities. And it feels like that's the sweet spot.
Oh, yeah. No, my daughter starts kindergarten this fall.
And you're
and
like, yes.
I'm basically an empty nester at this point. They're going to be all gone in school. It's very much a pivotal point in my parenting where I'm like, oh, I got this. I think I can do this now because they're all old enough to take care of themselves and understand what I'm saying. But I don't know, because I'm just not a baby person. From newborn to 2.5, I think is the hardest stage ever. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm living a good life right now.
And your kids know the traditions at this point, and the family unit is built, and you guys are just reaping those benefits of all the things that you've built up, and that you're in the thick of it in the best way, because then once they get older, they're with their friends more, and that time is so fleeting. So soak it up, because I feel like a lot of people just want that stage, living my best life.
Yeah, and it's crazy. My 2 youngest kids have never known anything different but Dad being the bishop. And so they've always just known, like, they've never sat with their dad in sacrament. So it's one of those things where...
Yeah. So how is that with your husband working and being a bishop at the same time? Is that really hard on your guys' family unit or relationship, him being gone so much?
I think if I didn't know anything different, like my mom was a single mom for most of my life. And so I just saw my mom do everything on her own. And she did it with such grace. I knew things were hard for us growing up, and I knew we didn't have any money. But I never questioned my mom's ability to do what she was doing. So being married to my husband and him just being as busy as he was from the get-go, he traveled so much in the beginning of our marriage that I just was like, oh, I got this. I've always been super independent. I've never thought I needed a man to help me with anything. And I think that's because of what my mom has shown me. And don't get me wrong, like I love my husband and I love that he lets me live the life that I live, but I can do everything that I'm doing on my own without him because of how busy he is. And I'm fine with it. Like, it doesn't ever bother me.
Yeah. How has it been for him? I'm sure really fulfilling in some ways, but probably really exhausting in some ways.
Yeah, no, like the first year of him being a bishop was actually really hard. Like, I remember him coming home and I could just see him like completely drained. And I also cannot keep a secret to save my life. So I'm like, you can't talk to me about anything. So you have to find someone else to get counsel with and stuff. We had to have a code word. I was like, okay, if you come home and you just say not today. And I'm like, okay, I get it. So then he'll go and he'll eat his dinner and then he'll go and take a nap. And we just have a system now. But we're going on 6 years.
Is it usually a certain time frame?
It's usually 5.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
everyone that I've said, it's like, oh, it's a 5-year thing. But our bishop before this was 9 years. So I don't know if the Polynesians just do it differently. They just do it on their own time schedule.
Tell them to stop doing such a good job.
I know. But can
Like, just start
can you
slacking
sin a little bit?
Yeah. Get caught doing something bad.
Do you feel pressure as the bishop's wife to uphold a certain type of characteristics? Are you held to a higher standard?
So when we got interviewed by our stake president, they were like, we're calling you as you are right now, this very day, who you are as a person. And they're like, we don't want you to change because he does now have this calling. And I said, great. So I wouldn't change one bit of me. And I am a little bit more out there and like progressive, I guess you could say. And I've never felt a need to change because I think that's where people have an issue with the Mormon religion specifically, because they feel like they have to uphold this extremely high standard that's just not attainable. And I'm more of a realistic, and I'm like, I don't want to put that pressure on me. And I don't want my kids to think that they have to change who they are or be someone else, always watch what they're doing. I'm like, just be a good person and love everyone and serve. That's really all you have to do. You could still be funny. You can swear. Those things I just don't think dictate you as a person and your heart. I've never felt the need to change who I am and the loudness of me.
I love that. It's such an example of confidence in your testimony. It's kind of like if people are on the other side of that spectrum, so uptight about those little things, it almost feels like that's a lack of confidence in what they believe in because they're holding and clinging on to the wrong things.
Yeah.
Where you're like, no, I'm solid in my relationship with God and where I stand in the church, and I'm going to be me.
Yeah.
And what a good example to the members of your ward. I don't have to be perfect either.
Yeah.
They really are so lucky to have you guys.
Oh, you're so sweet. That's why I wanted to start posting on TikTok. I was just doing mom stuff at first and nothing was working. It's such a weird place in social media right now. You really have to find something that the internet likes. And I wasn't finding it until I started posting about being a bishop's wife and being like, yeah, I go to the gym in my sports bra and I don't feel any shame about that. And I go out to eat on Sundays with my family. A lot of my family members aren't members, and that's the only time that they get together is on a Sunday. And once I started posting about that kind of stuff and not having the expectation that we're just this perfect family, I'm like, yes, my kids play on my phone during sacrament meeting. I just need them to be quiet so we can sit there for the hour and then they go about their days. I got a lot of like, yes, this is amazing. But then sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, you're the worst. You let them play on your phone. And I'm like, that's the least of your worries.
The hate that you're getting, is it from members?
I get a lot of hate from members. And it's so funny because I get a lot of ex-Mormons too in my comments, and they're just the best. They're like, oh, you're so cool. I'd probably come back to church if you were a part of my life or if you were in my ward. And I think they just give me a lot of praise of how I'm handling my relationship with the religion and my children, because I think that's where a lot of ex-Mormons come from, is just a lot of trauma in their childhood and how much it changed them and made them want to leave, which is completely valid. If I would have had a very traumatic religious experience with a religion, I would also leave. And so the way that I am trying to handle it with my kids is I just don't ever want them to feel like they are not perfect and that they have to be perfect. And so that's one of those things that I feel very grateful that I do have a lot of nice people in my comments from both sides. I do get a lot of nice comments from members, and then I get a lot of nice comments from ex-Mormons, and they're just giving me guidance of being like, you're doing it a good way. Thanks.
What about from your ward? Do people in your ward ever come up to you and be like, oh, I came across your TikTok? Is the reaction there pretty good? Or has there ever been any drama in the ward where you're like, I'm sorry, I'm just going to own this?
No, I think because they've known me for so long and I've always been this way. And now that they just see it on the internet, they're like, oh, yeah, that's Erykah. Like, that's literally who she is. And so it's funny when people are like, your husband's going to get let go earlier because of you doing this stuff on the internet. I have literally been this person my whole entire life. So if they didn't want this, they wouldn't have called him. And so it's it's crazy.
Does he watch your videos or know what you post, or is he like, I don't care, you can do whatever you want?
Yeah, he just doesn't care. He doesn't have a TikTok, so he's not on there watching every single one of them. But he sees me making them and he knows who I am. And that's also another funny comment. They're like, oh, what does your husband feel about this? And like I said, I'm literally the same person on the internet and to my husband's face. There's no change. And so I think he loves that I've found a community and that I'm just doing something I love. I think it's so fun to post on TikTok. I think it's so fun to comment and have people to relate to and bring awareness in a different light that I've never seen on social media.
Yeah. And the creative freedom. It really is a fascinating thing. When I saw your first video, as a bishop's wife, these are things I don't care about. That is such a interesting concept of things where you think a bishop's wife is the first lady of the church. It's like, oh, you should care about everything. And to hear that somebody who is so high up in the church doesn't is so refreshing and interesting. So what do you feel like are some of your hot takes when it comes to the church? I know you talked about your kids being on their phones during sacrament meeting, but what other things do you feel like you don't subscribe to?
I let my kids wear what they want. I'm not pushing a crop top on my daughter, but if she would want to wear it, I would not care. And my daughter's a dancer and she's wearing her 2-piece sets and she wears tank tops and she wears short shorts. Those things, the whole idea around modesty is just not something I'm going to subscribe to, because there's no way I will ever make my daughters feel shame for the way that they want to dress and what they feel comfortable in. And I feel like that's a hot take where it's like, everyone says like, oh, cover your shoulders because of what the men can see. And I'm like, I don't subscribe to that. If you guys have a problem with a shoulder, that says more about you than it does about me. That's not my character coming through. That's yours. And so I just never want my kids, especially my daughters, ever feel shame of what they want to wear and what they feel confident in.
How do you feel about the garment change? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's going to be great, but I don't know. I've posted this on TikTok. I have a hard time with my garments, and I always have. And my husband has always known this, and he has never said one thing to me about it. That's one of those things I think I just have come into my body a little bit more recently since I've lost a lot of weight, and I just feel more confident in myself, and restricting what I want to wear has been difficult. But I do respect them in a way that I understand what they stand for. But this time in my life right now, I think it's just a little bit difficult. But I do think the change is just going to continue to change. And so I hope it just continues to get better for future generations.
How do you deal with, or I guess answer to, all of the change that's going on in the church? And not to speak for your husband, but how he navigates that with members within leading the church through that change.
Yeah, I love change and I'm here for it, because that just means that there could be more change to come. And I think it would just give our religion more opportunity to be more accepting. And so I personally believe and hope that the church moves into a direction where it's less about the rules that you need to follow and more about your heart and what you're doing in life. That could probably never happen, but that's just kind of where I like to keep my thoughts, because if I go any further than that, then it just gets messy, and then it takes away my love for God, because I think having a love for a religion and having love for a higher being are two different things for me. And religion is really difficult because, yes, there's order and there's rules. And then loving your God and giving praise to him, there's a peace and comfort to that. So I kind of like to divide them. And I don't want my whole life to be centered around a religion, but I do want it to be centered around a God.
That's so beautiful. I can tell the childhood religious trauma is not there.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's hard because with the change growing up, I tried to be that change, and it was like shame for that, or that's not okay. And then now it's kind of nuance, growth and change. It's almost being honored and respected. And it's like,
where was that?
Yeah. Where was that for me? And so I want that change and growth for future generations for sure, but it's also hard when so many people were ostracized for that exact change.
That breaks my heart for those people that have gone through that. And I never want to make my experience the norm, because I know so many people, especially here in Utah, that have had such a hard time with it and were shamed so much growing up. And I didn't have that. It's one of those things where it's like, if you've gone through it, then you've gone through it and your feelings are completely valid. But if you didn't go through that, then you have a different lens. Both parties need to be respected on how they decide to go about it.
Totally. And I also feel like it is so personal to each person's experience within religion and spirituality, where I could have one experience and then someone's experience could be completely different than mine. And like you were saying, both are valid. And it's ultimately like, how are you going to become your highest, true, best self?
Yeah.
And what does that look like? And honoring and respecting. But it's hard because I'm on this path and journey where I feel so validated in my spirituality myself. But then when others don't accept and validate me that I love and admire and respect, it's hard to
find that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not take it like, oh my gosh, this is hard.
Yeah. 100%.
So it's like endless grace I'm giving to others and not receiving that back.
It's draining. And I honestly don't know if it's just childhood trauma that has just made my brain this way, but I have a very nuanced view on everything. And I'm just like, be a good person, serve others, and then whatever else happens in this life and after we die, I don't know what that's going to be like. I can't prove it to anyone. So I just want to live the life that I want to live now, and then whatever happens, happens.
Do you have any advice for people who are in the church and have a hard time supporting their family members through a faith transition? Like, the advice for people who have a friend or a child or a parent or whatever who's leaving the church, for them, based on what the church believes in, love your nuanced view, but there are a lot of black and white rules or the beliefs that people have, maybe that you don't cling to, a lot of people cling to. Like, my child's not going to be with me and we're not going to be sealed and this is the one true church and all of those things. What advice would you have to someone? How do you support people who leave or who have left and not let that crumble your faith and everything you stand on?
Well, I know so many people that have left, and I'm still so close. One of my best friends is an atheist. She doesn't believe in anything, and I love her. She's my soul sister. Like, I love her to my core. And so I just would hope that if anyone is going through a situation like that, where they have someone who's close to them, to know that the religion doesn't define who they are. I feel like I have a really hard time with people who hold that so tight on a person's character, because if you didn't know what their religion was and you loved them as a person and for their heart and their character and who they are as a person, them choosing to leave a religion or not shouldn't matter. And I know that's so hard to understand, but that's how I look at it. I truly just don't care what people think about me, and I truly don't care what other people do with their lives, as long as they're doing their best and as long as they're a good person. And I know I'm probably not the norm in any of this. And so it's really hard to hear these things and people are like, well, I don't see that and I don't get that. And I've never received that type of love. But I just wish that's what people could remember is, religion aside, you're still a person and you still have a heart and you still have so much to give. I really just don't think it should change how you feel about that person.
I really appreciate that view and perspective. And I think just even that example of how you're living your life is the loudest voice that you could possibly give, especially within that culture.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, look at this bishop's wife not caring about these things, probably really helps others loosen the purse strings. And I don't need to be so tight on all of these little things.
Life is so hard as it is. Don't make it any harder on yourself. And I think that's how I just live my life, is like, oh, I just want to be a good person and I don't want to have all these other stressors. And I'm very lucky that I can be like, I really just don't care. And I don't have any shame or guilt behind it. And I know a lot of people can't do that. So it's very hard. I'm sure people are listening to this and being like, well, I cannot do that. And I'm really sorry that you can't do that. But if you can just slowly try to transition into just truly not caring what people think, I think that's been the biggest help, because I've been through so much in my life that how you feel about me really won't change who I am as a person. And so I'm just going to continue to live my best self and to love God and to love my children and my husband and to teach them just to be kind, respectful people. Like, I think that's really all it needs to be.
You've mentioned a few times, I just don't care what people think. Is that something that you've always had that perspective, or is it something that you've grown into?
I think I've grown into it more, but I think I have always just not cared.
Yeah.
Because I've always had the weird dynamic with my dad and my family, and we're just such a split and blended family. And there's so much to my childhood that I just am like, what's the point?
And it's kind of sad too, because you probably had to build a lot of armor around that, and a lot of gossip and a lot of people's opinions. And so it probably started penetrating at a young age. And then it was like, okay, I'm putting the shield up. And then slowly within that, getting married, starting your own family, it's like, okay, I'm coming into myself. I don't really care anymore.
Yeah.
Well, and then you can let those shields down and the strength is still here.
Yeah. No, and I've even seen myself isolate myself within my family unit, even with my siblings. Even though we're not full siblings, they're all my family. I've never even said, this is my half brother or my half sister or my stepbrother. We're all just siblings. But I've noticed that I'm just not as close with my siblings around me anymore, because I'm just so focused on my family and what I can control within my family and my husband and my kids. And that's where I want to focus my energy. And I really do think it is, because I've always just had to be a strong person. And like you said, build those shields and that armor that it's not hitting for me. And I get so much hate sometimes too. And I'm like, really, it's not even doing a dent. It's not doing anything. And probably should go to therapy for that one. But
no, it's good. And especially with the social media world, if you can already have that armor, there's just so much nastiness on the internet, especially being more controversial topics. Of course, you're going to get pushback on that.
Yeah.
And so if you can just be like, haha, cool, engagement, like
really,
that's special, because I'm so sensitive. Any negative comment, I'm like, why?
I just make a video. I get a negative comment and I just make a video commenting to the comment, and I'm like, this is fun. We can just keep going back and forth.
Giving me an idea for a different video. And just years of practicing that probably just builds that muscle and keeps it strong.
Yeah.
I was made for this role because I have never cared. Me and Chelsea, I don't know if you listen, we did an episode a couple weeks back, but we talked about, I got into a little bit of my religious background. And one of the issues that we debated was the bishop's interview and the atonement process.
Yeah.
And she was like, I think the church is changing a lot of things, because I think people have the biggest problem with is these teenagers sitting in a room with the bishop and getting asked these inappropriate questions and all of those things. Every bishop probably takes it at a different angle and adds their own little spin to it. So maybe your husband is one of those, but do you feel like they're making changes with the atonement process and the confession process?
Yes.
And what are your thoughts on all of that controversy?
Yeah. So I do have to say, I never went to a bishop growing up. I never went and did one of these confessional things within my teen years until I got engaged to my husband. And then we're like, okay, we want to go through the temple, so I have to talk to a bishop. And from my experience on that, it was so black and white. It was like, okay, what'd you do? And I'd say it, and then I'd be like, and he's like, okay, we can't do that anymore. Okay, cool. So from my experience, they didn't ask me any details or anything like that. And when my husband got called to be the bishop, because I have heard so many of these stories, I'm like, you better not ask any questions like that. We've had very in-depth conversations of things that are appropriate. And I'm like, so when you do these things, is it just you? And he was like, no, we either have a parent there, and if the child doesn't want the parent there, then we'll have another person there. And so it's never a one-on-one situation with my husband and whoever he's interviewing. And he's like, and anytime I go into an interview, I am going in with love and compassion. I am not there to judge. I am not there to seek out questions and stuff like that. And I even asked, I'm like, so if someone does break the law of chastity, what are you doing? What are you saying in there? And he's like, I'm asking, did you break the law of chastity? And if they say yes, and I'm like, okay, let's learn from this. If you want to repent, let's do that. And he's like, I don't go into like
what they did.
What did you do? How did he touch you? How did you touch her? None of those questions are happening to my knowledge. Obviously, I'm not in there, but that was my first questions. When he got called, I said, don't be that weirdo. Please don't do that. That's not something I could handle and I could have on my heart, because I don't think it's necessary. You don't need to know X, Y, and Z. And I know there's so many people that are like, yeah, they wanted to know how I felt. And I'm like, that's weird. don't ask those questions.
Is that the standard though within the church, like the bishop training or whatever? Is it like you have to have another person in the room? You have to not ask these questions, or is that just how your husband's approaching it?
I don't.
Do they
honestly
do any trainings that you know of?
Yeah, so they do a lot of trainings. And even as a bishop's wife, at least for our stake, every year they have the bishops and the bishop's wife go to a hotel for a weekend, and they pay for all of it. And we do trainings on how we can support the bishop and what's expected of us and what can be conversed with between husband and wife and a bunch of those things. So I feel like from just that yearly training, I appreciate it because it shows that they do want us to be a husband and a wife. I don't know if this is the same for everyone, but our stake is very much like your wife comes first, your calling comes second, which is also very nice to hear for a wife, because sometimes I don't feel like that's reciprocated. Sometimes I'm always like, oh, you have another meeting, you have another thing. But just hearing it from someone who is in a higher authority than he is, just being like, no, if your wife needs you, your wife needs you. And I don't know if that's just my husband's upbringing. He takes his calling so seriously. So sometimes it is hard for him to bend, but he does his best. And we've met pretty good in the middle of being like, okay, well, I'm going to go on vacation. And if it falls on a Sunday, you can leave early, but I'm not leaving early. And have the personality where I'm like, that's fine. If you want to leave early, that's great for you. And I'm going to stay.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, I don't really know if it's like the norm.
I know. I just hope that is the standard in the church. It should be a rule of, okay, someone, a parent or another counselor is always in the room. If you're alone with anyone, honestly, would protect a lot.
Yeah. It is hard though too, because I think back to when I'm 14 going to my bishop to confess. Even the idea of, okay, now 2 men are sitting here. Not that that's more inappropriate, because it's probably better, but it's more intimidating.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, Brother Jones and Brother Johnson are going to about to know what I did.
Did your parents make you do that? Was that, or was it just
My
your own
parents
free
had
will?
no idea that I
And
was
you were
like,
just like
hankin' with boys. No, it just was the fear.
Oh.
I literally was so afraid of the second coming.
Okay.
And so afraid that if the second that a guy touched my boob or something on a Saturday night, I felt like
you needed to tell someone.
the worst person in the world, where I just was like, I need to get rid of this guilt. And so I would go and confess. And then, of course, the next weekend would come. And then it would be like, oh, gosh, dang it, I have to go back to my bishop or whatever. Mm-hmm. But my other question, I don't know if you know this, maybe that's part of a training or something. Is there a guideline or a rule book for like hand job is X amount? This is probably inappropriate. But that's one of the biggest things too, is the sentencing of it all.
Yeah.
It's so helpful that your husband has had his own experiences, right?
Yeah.
Because he can empathize with these people. But it's like, oh, my friends had sex 2 months before they went to the temple and their bishop said they were fine. And then my bishop made me go for a year and a half and read all these books and do all these things. Is it just the personality thing or actual guidelines on this?
I wish I had an actual answer for this, but I think it has to do with personality and who's being called. And I remember the bishops growing up, they were these really old men. And they just had a different way of thinking and their generation that they were brought up in. And so when we were called, I was like, this is weird. I don't feel like we fit the norm. We're pretty young, and I don't really know how much wisdom we have to offer these people in the ward. But then I really thought about it and I was like, well, no, we both have done things that we shouldn't have been doing as a member, the drinking and the partying and having sex before marriage. And then I was like, well, maybe that is why we were called to do this, because my husband can talk to these people and be like, yo, I was there. I've been in these places and look, it can turn around for you. And I don't feel like that needs to be shamed either. If that's what you want to do with your life, that's your choice. And I hate that there is such shame to it.
I know, it's kind of hard because it's like luck of the draw.
Yeah.
Like
I said, like I told my husband, I'm like, I don't want to know what you guys are talking about in there, because I would literally walk into my ward and be like,
oh
my gosh.
like the drama.
It would be on my face. Yeah. I know there is a book though that they can refer to, but sometimes I feel like these people in these callings just get a hothead and just be like, okay, a little playing God type of situation.
So much to do with, okay, what the person that's coming to me, like, do they really seem
like the
sorry?
intention?
Do they feel ready?
My husband
for
does
this
say
process?
that a ton.
Yeah.
It's like the intention behind our conversations. If it's them just being like, I'm not going to do it again, but I'll probably do it again. There's one of those things where you just kind of have to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
So I think there's so much, but he always just says the intention of going into the meeting and what they want out of it is kind of how he leads and directs.
And I think if bishops really stick to that, because sometimes I remember being like, okay, my heart is so pure, like please see that I'm being so genuine and give me a lighter sentence. And then it was like 6 months and I'm like, gosh dang it,
that makes me so sad for you.
I know, but it doesn't really have much to do with why I'm not active anymore.
Yeah,
I genuinely just don't believe in the concept of the church.
It just doesn't fulfill you.
Yeah,
and that's fine.
Yeah, and I wish I could. I miss it sometimes. And even especially seeing you in this unique ward where you guys have this culture aspect to it and this family aspect of community, because that's something that you miss so much when you leave a religion, is that community, right?
Well, you are in my ward boundaries.
Oh, I am. You are. Are you gonna recruit me?
You are
knock,
in my
knock,
ward.
knock.
You are in my ward boundaries. You can
a
come.
basic white bitch could come to the Polynesian
No,
ward.
you'd be actually surprised. We have Hispanics, we have Tongans, we have Samoans, we have white people, we have Hawaiian people. It's not just Tongans that are there or that are welcomed. If you're in our ward boundaries and you want to come, like,
they would welcome me.
They would welcome you with open arms.
Yeah, see, I love that, the way that you're going about it. And I hope that the church does change. Chelsea's used the analogy that the church is her ex-boyfriend and he's being so much better to this new girl that he's dating. So a lot of
that's so hard.
A lot of people who have left the church have this chip on their shoulder, like, well, he didn't do that with me.
Yeah.
Or why wasn't I enough for this or whatever. And I think it is hard to kind of humble yourself and be like, okay, it wasn't like that for me. I hope it's changed for people moving forward and welcome the change. But I think it's more just trying to understand the change. Is the change ever confusing for you? Because I think it does get confusing for people who have left the church, the change, because it's like, oh no, like God laid those rules and now the church is changing them. Is God actually just like, oh, just kidding, that doesn't matter. Like, I know I told you that 10 years ago, but this is different.
Yeah.
Is that ever hard for you? Or does your husband ever have a hard time explaining?
Yeah, I keep myself in this bubble that I just am happy in. And so the change, I like change. And so I think change is good, but it is hard because people have always said that, I don't even want to try to quote this because I don't even know if I'm going to say it correctly, but it's more like the doctrine is ever changing, but the gospel stays the same. Or maybe it's vice versa.
I think it's like the doctrine never changes, but the culture and those type of things can change and grow
like
because of modern revelation and the times changing.
Well, and I just would hope that that's never the case, because I would never want to stay in something that was created hundreds of years ago. I would hate to stay that way, because I always compare it to America, because everyone's like, how do you feel that colored people couldn't have the priesthood? And I was like, do you know what color my husband is? If that was really an issue, do you really think we would be where we are right now? And I'm like, America was also okay with slavery and all those things out with people of color and the segregation, and we would never want to stay that way. And so the fact that that could change, and then the religion can change, and I know it's a little bit nuanced because religion is supposed to be so by the book, it's black and white. Once it's on paper, nothing can change. But I don't want that. I don't want it. But I understand that that's something that people are very by the book by. And I think that's just where I come in, and I'm just like, I don't really know. I just am going by how I feel. And
yeah, which you should. That's what should be your compass moving you forward. I think the church is in a very tricky position right now, because if they don't change, they're going to lose a ton of people. But if they change too fast, they're going to lose a ton of people. Yeah. So I think they have to be strategic and move forward. And I just think about the garment change. I'm like, who was in these meetings? Who was advocating for this? And then what was that process like? I would kill to hear those meetings. Same. Because it's like, was it a woman or was it a man? Were someone for years advocating for this, or what was it? And for me, I'm obsessed with that progression. Yeah. I'm like, I'm so stoked for that. Yeah. But it's also sad that all these women are celebrating that when clearly they've wanted that for so long.
And like, why wasn't it okay before?
Yeah. Or why isn't it about the symbolism versus can someone honor that symbolism with not wearing them all the time? Yeah. And can someone still honor that when it's like, this is hurting my self-confidence? Is there a way to find your own?
Yeah. And I think that's where, with my personal position and situation that I'm in with all of the garments and the way that I feel like it's just taken a loophole. And like I said, my husband has never once said anything to me and being like, oh, you don't have your garments on. He just knows that that's between me and God. And I truly believe that at the end of this life, if I meet a God, I think he's going to care so much more about how I treated other people and who I was as a person versus what I wore. And I had someone comment on my TikTok the other day and was like, I really hope that the garment can be something that you wear just within the temple. And it's more of a symbolism there. And I hate when people say it's not about modesty, because if that was the case, then this whole tank top situation wouldn't be a situation at all, because it was a modesty situation. They didn't want you showing your shoulders. They didn't want you showing cleavage.
Being pornography.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's one of those things where you just have to take it and do with it what you will.
I
and
know.
whether that's good or bad, I just would hope that people can just be like, you know what? I hope that this does something better that I didn't get. As hard as that is, just being happy that future generations might not ever have to deal with the shit we had to put up with growing up.
Yeah, totally. It's so funny because I was like, I hope that this is the conversation with bishops and this. And Sammy was pushing back with me on that. No, but that's not how it is. You have to go in, because I was like, I would hope these bishops are like, now you go through the repentance process on your own.
Yeah.
And that's what I would hope.
That's a fine hope to have. I'm just saying stepping away from the atonement process in general will never happen, because that's the sole foundation is the atonement, right? Of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I think you can make, the way you go about it, you can make the changes. You could have a parent be in the room. You could lessen the sentence, or you can do whatever. But the act of atoning for your sins is such a core thing that I don't be like, oh, we're not requiring the repentance process anymore.
Yeah.
That's never going to happen. The repentance process would ever go away, but I would hope it's more of a personal repentance process, like personal within yourself and then with God. Okay, I had another question for you. So my friend, she's in Young Women's, and chastity lesson is coming up, and she was like, I want your guys' advice and opinions how I should teach this lesson. We were all giving our advice and stuff. But she was like, yeah, I'm nervous because I do want to be a sounding board for these young women and have them feel open and confident and comfortable coming to someone if they have questions and stuff. But also, I don't know how to broach some of these topics. What is your, like, you have your daughter.
Yeah.
What is your relationship with explaining chastity to her maybe, or within the church? Is it something that you're uncomfortable, someone else teaching your daughter that? Or if you were to have to teach a lesson on that, would you feel comfortable and confident? And how would you teach that?
Yeah. It's such a difficult question, because it is one of those things where they have to be age appropriate for sure to understand. And they have to be in a point of their life where it could be a thought. Whereas my daughter's 10, I don't think she's really thinking about what breaking the law of chastity really is. But we do have extremely open conversations at home of our body parts. And you have a vagina. My son has a penis. We know the correct terms. We know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, and who can see you, and boundaries and stuff like that. So I would hope that me just having those conversations with my kid at such a young age, because we started by the time they could speak, and they're going to the bathroom, and I'm like, oh yeah, that is your vagina. No one touches that. That is your penis. No one touches that. It's one of those things where you just have to understand their maturity level and where they're at. And if they know their body and they know what is acceptable and what's not acceptable for their personal boundaries, I think that will lead them to more success in when it does come to situations of breaking the law of chastity, because I was a wild child. I was doing things I should not have been doing at a very young age. And so I never even had that idea. And I remember one lesson where they had a cupcake and they passed the cupcake around and everyone licked it. And then it got to the last person. And then it was like, do you want to eat the whole cupcake? And it was this weird dynamic. And I was like, I don't think you're getting the point across very well here. I just want her to know to love her body and respect herself enough to know that she doesn't have to give herself to anyone if she doesn't want to. An age appropriate thing too. Mm-hmm. I was not doing age appropriate things at my age. So I would pray that my daughter wasn't going down the path that I was. I'm surprised I didn't get pregnant like my mom did at a really young age. I got super, super lucky.
Was your mom open with you about that kind of stuff?
No, I was just winging it. But like I said, I had a lot of daddy issues. So that's how I was getting my love. That's what I thought love was when men would give me attention. So I was like, I'm going to go with it. And it wasn't because I knew my worth or who I was as a person. It was just because that's what felt good. And so I hope, knowing that my kids do have a loving mom and dad that are in the same household together, and we've shown them that they're so much more than just a body, that when it comes to that point, I would hope that she would feel comfortable enough to talk to me about things and get to that point of just explaining. I think just choices have consequences is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and your heart is so vulnerable and fragile at such a young age, especially with girls. It's different because with boys, it's like I feel like I'm going to teach my boys more so respect of women, and it's more physical and biological for you versus a woman. It's their heart and their minds. And
well, and you get those like endorphins too. It's something biologically literally happens when they're feeling those feelings.
And I think it's hard too as a parent. Nowadays it'll probably be better, but even back then, it's like you say age appropriate and what my parents would consider age appropriate. I started doing stuff at like 13. You're so young. And as a mom, you probably look at your child and you're like, oh, there's no way they're thinking about that. And little do they know when they drop me off at my friend's house, we're making out with boys, you know? And so it's hard because you want to introduce it at an age that's not too early or jumping the gun or putting it in their mind, right? My parents never really talked to me about any of it, but I remember my mom tried to have a conversation with me at like 17, and I was like, bruh. Like,
no, my mom thought I was a virgin when I got married. I was like, why do you think we've had such a long engagement, Mom? What is happening?
Literally. In my mind, it's never too early because even nowadays, junior high and high school and the world in general is just so much more sexual that kids are doing stuff at really young ages. It's just scary.
I think about my parents. I feel like they really taught me chastity and abstinence, the church's standards on things, but it was never about my body or how I'm feeling or hormones or feeling horny or any of that. And I would have liked it not be tied to religion because then it was so tied to my self-worth. And if I could separate it a little bit and more have it focused on my body and my mind and my heart, and what are your intentions behind doing these things? Do you want this boy to like you? Do you feel uncomfortable? Do you feel like you have to do this? Do you feel like this is fun and I want to do this? And also, if that is the case, there could be a potential consequence because now your heart and your mind is connected to this person if you are physical with them. And are you willing to deal with that? And obviously those are hard concepts to get across to, especially a teenager. But if you can do it in a way where it becomes more a natural conversation, I think at least if they do something, they know the ramifications of that, and also knowing that you're not damaged and you're not the licked cupcake.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like you'll still want to be eaten at the end of the day.
Exactly.
But it is a tricky situation.
I always tell my kids that if you are honest with me and you tell me the truth, you will never be in trouble. I will never think anything bad of you, but we might have a consequence, whatever the truth may be. So even with my 5 and 7-year-old, like they always come to me, Mom, to tell you something, and they'll openly talk to me about it. And it's the way that I react, I think, is going to set my kids up for such success, because I am never one to pop off. I just sit there and I'm like, okay, cool, let's talk about it. And so I hope that what I'm doing now and how I'm modeling my reactions of, you know how I said I didn't hit my sister? Well, I did hit her. And I'm like, okay, how did that make you feel? Why would you do that? How do you think that made her feel? And we have a conversation about it. And I'm like, hey, I love you so much. Please, let's try to do better. And then we go about our day. So I'm really hoping that the way that I am modeling for my children now at such a young age, that when we do get to those situations of, oh, Mom, guess what I just did tonight? I could be like, oh, okay, let's talk about it. And I hope that they would have confidence in me as a parent. I can tell her this. It's going to be maybe awkward a little bit, but I know she'll always love me and she's not going to shame me. And we can hopefully have a productive conversation.
Like that's the key. If you have open communication with your kids, almost nothing else matters. Because then you can at least talk them through it in real time.
I was terrified to tell my mom anything. I remember being a pathological liar as a kid because I couldn't keep up with my lies. And then I would just have to lie over everything. And I remember sitting down in my room and being like, why do I have to lie so much? It was exhausting and it was so frustrating. And I was like, I don't want to have to feel like I have to lie all the time to my mom. But I truly was. That was a time where I was getting grounded for everything. So it was like, if I don't lie, then I'm in trouble. If I do lie, I'm in trouble. I'm like, so what do I do? So it was one of those things. As a kid, I felt like I was constantly lying to my parents, and I was lying to my parents. But it was over times like, I told my mom I wore a blue shirt to school today and I wore a freaking purple shirt. Why would I do that?
It's clearly a sign of not feeling safe. There's not the level of safety. So many little things happen. And so that's where probably the lies start.
And then it builds up from there.
Yeah. What I really admire, what I'm hearing from you, is you're breaking a lot of patterns that you grew up with. And that's really hard to do. It's a conscious effort to be like, I'm taking myself off this train track and putting myself on this. and every day being very intentional, how you're mothering, how you're showing up for yourself. And that's a big thing.
I feel like all of our experiences in childhood and the time that we grew up in were also very difficult, but I know our parents were only trying to do what was best for us and what they knew at the time. And so I do give my mom a ton of grace. And she always says, I know I wasn't a perfect mom and I could have been so much better. And we have a great relationship now. And I do thank her for a lot of the situations that I was put in, because I don't think it would have made me as resilient as I am today. And so even though it was so hard and it was so difficult growing up, I still give so much praise to my mom now, being like, holy shit, I could not have done what you did. My mom had 3 kids by the time she was 21, all on her own, just winging it, trying to do her best. She had her faults and she failed so many times, but looking back, I'm like, damn, you did that and it wasn't perfect, but thank you for showing me how I don't want to live my life, but also thank you for my life.
And that's, again, touching on your character and your grace that you're giving to others. That's nothing to do with anyone else, because it's really hard not to play the victim. And
I can't do that. I hate the victim game, especially because I have gone through so much and I don't talk about it a lot either. So not a lot of people know. And then when I do say something, they're like, whoa, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I know. So can you just chill? You're okay. It's okay. Everything's going to be fine.
Okay, you guys, this episode is sponsored by Minky Couture, which honestly is my dream sponsor. Something about a Hugs Minky blanket fresh out of the package. I feel like I need one for every special occasion. I'm like, okay, the seasons are changing. Let me get a fresh Minky because they make life that much better. So I've been thinking I want to get one for my IVF journey, just to be with me through my whole egg retrieval and the transfer and have something to snuggle up. I got my very first Minky blanket when my mom passed away. My friend gifted me that. And now it's my go-to gift for somebody who's lost someone or is going through something, because wrapping that, it literally is a comfort warming hug.
yes, exactly. My first experience with Minky was when Lennox, he's 7 now, he was in the NICU, and they gave him to all the parents in the NICU, a small infant blanket.
They did?
Yes. And I remember just wrapping Lennox in that and cuddling with him skin to skin and then putting the Minky over, and it meant so much to me. It was such a thoughtful little gesture. I've had all my babies wrapped in it, and I just fell in love with the company then. And now my house is covered in Minky blankets. My boys on their beds, when we're cuddling on the couch watching a movie. It's weird how it's becoming part of our story a little bit.
Totally.
And they have so many different sizes, textures, patterns. You will 100% find the one that matches your aesthetic, what texture you like, everything. And some are a little more weighted, like the Hugs version. It's so good. If you want to experience it yourself, head over to minkycouture.com and use code DEEPISH for 50% off.
50% off. It's amazing.
Yes. Get cozy, stay soft, and hold on to those blankets while they become part of your story. You had mentioned with garments, you have a hard time, especially like your body has changed and now you're feeling more confident in wanting to wear things. What has your relationship with your body and self-esteem been throughout the years? Having 3 kids, how has that been?
It's always been hard, because I remember in high school, looking back at pictures, you're like, damn, what would I have done to look like that again? But I was always the bigger friend in my friend group. And so I always had a lot of issues with my body. And then going back and forth between my mom's house and my dad's house, we were very poor. So we just had a very bland diet, like 99-cent hamburgers at McDonald's, ketchup only, hamburger helper, very, very bland. And then when I'd go to my dad's, him and his wife would cook these really extravagant Mexican foods and Chilean foods that my palate just did not agree with. And I was very afraid of their food. So I remember from a young age telling my dad, Kate, before I stay at your house for the weekend, I need to eat 5 hamburgers so I can stay full for the weekend, because I know I'm not going to eat what you guys cook. And so from a very young age, I had a really bad relationship with food. And I feel like that's when my binge eating started, super bad and super heavy. I was probably 7 years old.
Because you were binging and then starving yourself all weekend.
Yes. And then I'd come home and then I would binge all the food with my mom, being like, please don't send me back there. I can't do it. And I remember eating their food and then pretending to have to go to the bathroom, and I'd spit it out in the toilet. So I had a lot of food issues growing up.
So it wasn't about weight at a young age. It was just like, I don't like that food.
Yes, I don't like that food. And I just didn't want to eat it. And then that kind of led into just fixating on the foods that I do like and overindulging in them. And so I had that issue all throughout high school, all throughout motherhood. And it got even worse after I had kids, because then my body really did change. And then I was turning to food to make me happy. If I was happy, I wanted a cookie. If I was sad, I wanted a cookie. So food and my emotions played heavily. And so after each kid, we just don't really have good genetics in my family either. So I just was getting bigger and gaining more weight and gaining more weight. And I just didn't have any self-confidence in myself. And I still remember I love makeup and I love doing my hair and everything like that. And I love fashion. So I do remember still putting effort into what I wore, how I presented myself. But inside I was like, I hate myself so much. I hate how I look. I hate that I can't breathe just trying to sit up. And so after I had my third kid, my two kids are 20 months apart, my last two. And so having two babies so close together, my anxiety went through the roof after I got pregnant with my third. And I started with all these different things. I would pick out my eyelashes. And I couldn't stop picking out my eyelashes because my anxiety was just so high. And I was like, how am I doing this? How am I having another baby? I still have a baby. And then after I had her, she got super sick and was in the hospital for a week. And I truly thought she was going to die. It was the scariest thing. She had RSV. She almost had to be intubated, and she was 9 days old.
Oh my gosh.
It was insane. So after that, it just was a trickling effect. We came home on oxygen for 2 months. I couldn't leave my house. It was 2020. COVID is happening. We can't do anything. I'm so afraid my baby's going to die if she goes anywhere or if anyone looks at her. And so I just sat in my feelings in that, and then I sat in food. And so within a year after having her, I gained 70 pounds on top of all of the baby weight that I had already gained, which is 60 pounds. So it was so much weight, and I'm so short. I hated it. It sucked so bad. So I really needed to figure something out.
Was there a point where you're like, okay, no more. I cannot live like this anymore?
Yeah. And I know it's not about a number, but when you think of me, I'm 5'1", and I got to 220 pounds, and my body just hurt. Everything hurt, and I was so tired. I was so lazy. I just wasn't being the mom that my kids needed. And I think that was my huge wake-up call. I was like, holy crap, I don't even want to get on the ground to play dolls with you because I know how hard it is to get back up. And that was a huge eye-opener.
So what was your first steps with that? Were you like, I'm just going to focus on food. I'm going to focus on exercise. What was the start?
Yeah. So within my midst of having kids and trying to lose weight, because there's a 4-year gap between my first and my second, I was doing these fad diets of like Optivia or MetaFast. I don't know if you've heard of those ones, but I'm eating like a rabbit, eating 1,000 calories a day. It was so unhealthy, and I would drop the weight, but then I'd gain it right back. It was one of these really unhealthy yo-yo diets where I just was like, no, I'm doing this because I want the weight loss, and that was it. And so I finally started counting my macros and working out. I had never worked out a day in my life. And so I was like, we've got to try this. We got to give it a go. And the macro thing and working out still wasn't doing anything. It was still so frustrating because I'm putting in the work. I'm being so strict. I'm hitting my protein goal. I know I'm eating enough calories, and I'm working out really hard, and nothing's changing. And so I had to go and talk with my doctor about it. I was like, something's wrong with me. I'm like, I don't know what is happening with my body, but something's wrong. And they did my blood work, and everything looked decent, but it was all elevated and high because of how heavy I was. And they're like, well, do you want to try a GLP-1? And I was like, I don't know, because I don't want to starve and just lose the weight. That seems silly and expensive and a waste of my time. So I told them I want to try it. I had also still been working out. I'm like, but I still have to eat, because if I can't eat, I can't work out, because I'm going to pass out and I'm just going to feel like crap. So they're like, okay, we can just take it super slow. So I've done a GLP-1 for almost 3 years. And I just microdose it, and I just have been reaping the benefits, because it's insane how much it's helped me. And then I've continued to work out, and I've lost 100 pounds over the last 2.5 years.
It's amazing.
Was there a point where you were just like, holy crap, this is working and it's changing my life? Was it a number on the scale or a feeling that you felt?
I think it was just seeing me getting stronger, honestly, because even remembering this number as a kid and knowing what that looked like in my head and seeing what my body looks like now, I'm like, that still doesn't add up. And body dysmorphia is such a real thing, even after losing so much weight. And so just seeing myself getting stronger and what I can do in the gym has really, really helped and been like, okay, this is working and this is doing something for me. And knowing that it's not just about my weight anymore. I'm working out, I'm building this muscle, I'm fixing my heart too, and knowing that I'll be around longer for my kids and being able to be that active mom that they deserved for the first 5 years of their life that they didn't get.
What do you mean with body dysmorphia? After losing all the weight, is it still hard? I don't see myself like
Oh yeah, no, I look in the mirror probably once a week and still be like, oh, you're still 220 pounds. It's really, really hard. Or if I'm going shopping and I revert back to getting my old sizes and I'm like, you idiot, you're not that anymore. You can go down in your sizes. So it's one of those things where my brain still is fighting against me, even though I've put in so much work. And I know it's just something that I'm learning, but I am getting more confident in myself and in my body now than I ever have before. Just being able to rewire my brain and enjoying food as it's fueling my body, not as a treat or a prize, has been super fulfilling.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't even imagine just that journey of losing the weight and having to redefine your relationship with food and health. It's probably such a mind F because you've lost all the weight. The goal's done there.
Yeah.
But the mental work, you're now finally starting to catch up with that.
Exactly.
And it's probably a daily thing.
Yeah.
How has your relationship been with eating food within the home, cooking for your family, talking about body image, things like that?
Yeah. I grew up with my mom always talking about her body and how big she was. And so even when I was bigger, I made it a very conscious effort to never talk about my body in a bad way around my kids. Obviously, I'd have self-talk, bad talk about myself. But if I'm around my daughter, I would never pinpoint or be like, oh, my stomach's fat or my thighs, I hate this, I hate that. Because I want her to know that it doesn't matter what your body looks like. You're beautiful no matter what. And my daughter is a half Tongan. And so she doesn't look like the normal girls in her dance studio. She's not this typical tiny thing. And I think I've done a good job because my daughter has never once looked at herself and ever thought anything was wrong with her. And she is the most confident girl I've ever met. I wish I could have an ounce of your confidence. The way that she just holds herself and the confidence that she has, I'm like, okay,
I won.
I did that and I am so proud of myself and I think I can be done parenting now. Mm-hmm. I suck at cooking. I do these Sunday cooking videos. I don't cook very much during the week. I try, but my kids are also very easygoing, plain Jane. They're good with dino nuggets. I really do suck at cooking. But Sundays, I try to make an effort to make a dinner because that's the one day my husband comes home and he's had a long day. Least I could do is make a meal for you. Mm-hmm. So I've been trying to do better.
How were your kids with you losing so much weight? Your younger kids might not remember a ton, but your oldest daughter, is she ever like, well, Mom, you look different? Did they ever make comments about your body?
They comment how strong I am. That's really what it comes down to. And my daughter trains, she dances 10 plus hours a week. And so her seeing me put in effort in the gym and seeing how much I love going to the gym, they've mentioned like, oh, you're so much happier. You have so much more energy and you're so strong. And they love to see my videos that I do when I am working out. And they're like, what? You can do that much? So it's really, really cute because I take my daughter. She's always like, Mom, are we going to the gym today? She already knows that it's just a part of our routine. And so they've never mentioned, oh, you look smaller, but it's always like, oh, Mom, you're strong.
How has it been with your relationship with your husband? Did it affect your marriage and your self-confidence?
And my sex drive when I was larger was so low and so bad. And I felt like that hindered mine and my husband's relationship a ton. I just wasn't comfortable in my own skin. And that really sucked because physical touch is for sure my husband's love language. That was really hard. And then as I started to lose weight, he could see me coming into myself as who I think I really truly am supposed to be. And he has honored it so well. And he sees how happy I am and how hard I've put into working on my body and my self-confidence. He just is like, damn, that's my wife. And he's so proud of me. And we talked about it this morning. I looked at pictures and I was like, wow, he must have really loved me because I was so big. And he was like, I don't ever remember you being big. I remember you being self-conscious and kind of a dimmer light than you are now. But I don't remember you being a big girl. He's for sure a gym person. He goes to the gym every single day for 2 to 3 hours. And I never understood why he needed that. I would get annoyed. I'd be like, oh my gosh, you're going to the freaking gym again?
Just skip it today.
Skip it today. I'm like, what are you doing? And then now I've gotten to the point where he's like, you get it now, right? And I'm like, yes, I get it. I still think 3 hours is a little excessive. My 45 minutes,
I'm good.
I'm great. That was good. Let's not do any longer. But it is hilarious because he's like, you are just a happier person. And you are really coming into yourself as not just a mom, but as Erykah. And he's like, I love seeing it.
So for someone that's wanting to start not even a weight loss journey, like a health journey, what would be some of your advice to just get started?
I would for sure find something that you really, really love and passionate about. I started working out at my clubhouse in the beginning and it wasn't fulfilling me. It was so boring. It was like pulling teeth to get myself over there. And I was like, this freaking sucks, but I know I need to do it. And then I started working out at Burn Boot Camp in Orem, and it's a fitness group and they do strength training and cardio training. And it's like loud music and they have great playlists and the trainers are just telling you exactly what to do. And so I would highly recommend finding something that you're super passionate about, whether it's high fitness or F45 or Orange Theory or something that just fulfills you while you're doing it and it doesn't feel like a chore. That would be my biggest suggestion. And then getting an accountability partner. I have 2 of my best friends that we go every single day together, and it's like we're going to hang out and then we work out and then it's fun, but we know that someone's waiting for you.
You feel like you can't bail.
Yeah. So those are my 2 biggest things: is find something you're passionate about that's going to get you moving, and then have an accountability partner.
That's great advice. You had mentioned earlier too that you've been starting to share on social media. What's your drive for that?
My husband works so hard for us, and he's doing 12 plus hours a day.
What does he do?
We own a concrete business.
Oh, so amazing. Concrete's so expensive. We just did our side yard and I'm like, oh,
It is.
you're making a killing, you guys.
It is so expensive, but the concrete itself is very, very expensive.
They're probably not making
They're
a
not
lot.
making, yeah. So the bid itself is huge, but I could probably guess that more than half of that is just for the actual concrete itself. But he works very hard, and
Does he lay the concrete and everything?
Yeah. Yep.
So he is in it.
He is in it. He does it all. And he's done it for the last 6 years. And it's been able to have me stay home and just be a mom. And it's been the best blessing ever. But I think I'm needing something to fulfill me in a way where I can bring my own money in. And so starting social media, I would be lying to you if it was like, I'm just doing it for fun. No, I'm doing it to build a community and to have a following in hopes to bring in some income. And that's really what's my driving force is I just want to be able to be an assistance to our family, but also still be able to be home with my children.
I know that when I look at your social media, you are out here grinding
No, I
and
hustle.
like do all of the videos, and it's good content.
Thank you.
Like you can tell you're thinking about it and making a good video.
Thank you.
Did you just decide trial and error? What's working? What am I getting views? How did you learn the metrics of social media?
I'm still trying to figure it out. But in the midst of me posting on TikTok and getting 200 views and feeling so, is this worth it? I started doing UGC, which is user generated content. It's where brands will reach out to you and just have you make videos for them. And then you get paid for the video. And then you don't ever have to post it on your social media. They take it, they use it, and then they pay you your fee. So I was doing that simultaneously. So I felt like I was making content for brands and sending it to them and getting paid for that. But then also making my own content in hopes to make something more on my end as well. And so I was
how does
getting,
that work? Do you have to apply to do that program?
Yeah,
or-
so there's a few different things. I started on a platform called Fiverr.
Okay.
It's Fiverr. And it's basically a freelance program where you put up a profile, you put up an example video, and then brands will reach out to you from there, message you, and then like, hey, this is what I need. Can you do this script reading? Or if I send you this product, can you give me this type of video? And they'll lay it out for you. You create your own prices, and then you just perform everything on there. But from that, I also learned that Reddit has a thread for UGC creators, and brands will go on there and be like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Drop your email and your portfolio, and then we might reach out to you. And then just reaching out to brands themselves, just being like, hey, I'm a UGC creator. If you ever need any content for your guys' social medias, you can totally reach out to me. Here are my rates. And so just learning bits and pieces of then, I've been able to fulfill that side of needing to make money while simultaneously trying to build my own little platform on TikTok in hopes to get more brand deals. Because my UGC things, it's bringing in a couple $100 per video. Whereas if I actually get an actual following, these influencers are making thousands and thousands of dollars for one post. So ideally, that's where I would like to be. But it's nice that I can supplement that dream with UGC while trying to navigate it all.
And you had mentioned that you got your first big brand deal.
Yes.
How did that feel?
Oh, it was amazing. It was one of those things where it's like, okay, you can sign your contract. We'll guarantee this X amount of money a month for the rest of the year. And I was like, this is insane. And it's not even that much money in comparison to some things, but it's going from making $0 a month to being able to be like, yeah, I can make our mortgage, I can make our car payment, and I can buy groceries just with me making a few videos. It's pretty life-changing. And so I'm hoping that the trajectory that I'm going just gets better and better.
Oh, yeah. And it's crazy because I feel like it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
You have to put in that work and those hours.
Like the scut work, yeah.
And then a 6-month time frame can change everything.
Yeah.
Where your videos start becoming more viral and then people start following and it's overnight. But it does feel very discouraging to someone just starting. What would you say to someone that's like, I want to do exactly what you're doing. I want to make money for my family, but I'm getting 200 views on these TikToks. Yeah. Why am I doing this?
I mean, honestly, I would go the UGC route if you really do like making content and you want to make money from it, because that really helped. It gave me that fulfillment. I'm like, okay, I made a paycheck, but this video on TikTok only got me 200 views. And that really sucks because I spent a long time editing that, or it just flopped and I don't know why. I would highly recommend looking into a UGC type of deal because it just fulfills that and
like
makes it
aspect.
Yeah, it makes it less of a harder blow.
And you get more practice probably learning how to edit and being more confident
in front of the camera. Yeah. All of that. So that is one thing. And then I didn't want to niche down, but unfortunately TikTok loves a niche and they love repetitive. So I really didn't want to lean into this whole bishop's wife thing. That really wasn't ever
I know we're
my
like
plan.
Firing questions at you. You're like, I don't know.
Like, I don't know these things.
Get
No, you're good. I really didn't want to lean into that. That wasn't what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be like fitness and mom stuff and lifestyle and humor things, but that just wasn't hitting
But I
at all.
feel like you niche down. Like a lot of these people who are big creators niche down on something, and then once you have that following, then you can spread.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm learning. And everyone's like, how much longer are you going to do this? I'm like, I don't know. Stick around and find out.
But just the general public has such a fascination with Utah and Mormon culture. And just hearing that you're a bishop's wife, it really is a good niche to have. But also it's funny and it's interesting, it's catchy, but you're spreading so much good with it too.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're selling your soul to be like, hey guys, it's actually good meaningful content to niche down into.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. That's really what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to show people that you don't have to be this perfect cookie cutter person, even in the position that I'm in. I don't think any person in a religion has to be a cookie cutter mold. But knowing that my husband is a bishop and it is a higher calling within a church, you still don't have to change yourself on who you are just because of that. But yeah, I would just try to maybe niche down and then explore other avenues later.
Do you kind of have to get over a little bit of the, I'm posting and people are going to see this and I'm nervous? Or goes back to, I literally don't care what anyone thinks?
Yeah, I really just don't care. I've always been comfortable in front of a camera, but I've never been confident in front of a camera. But now I am confident in front of a camera. So just the combination of things, it just kind of works now.
It's the perfect career for you because you don't care what people think. And that's going to set you so far ahead of a lot of people who do.
And it is nice. TikTok does have a way to filter certain comments. So I'll go through the comments and they'll get posted or whatever. And then I'll have a box at the bottom that's like comments to be reviewed. And so I can go through those comments and either approve or decline them based on what the comment is. So I don't always see all the hate. And then sometimes a little toxic Erykah's like, let's see what these people have to say today. And so I'll go through all of them. And for the most part, it's always the same thing. And this isn't hitting, so it's fine. You can continue to say that. But
no, I feel like you're going to kill it. And then we'll be having you back on with your millions of followers.
We'll be like, remember us?
Remember us when you make it big.
You guys do it before I will.
No, and that's what we're having a hard time. The podcast is definitely growing, but it's hard because Chelsea's like, try and think of some ideas that we can be unique and go viral or catchy or all of these things. And it's hard because I'm like, I just want to have a conversation with my best friend.
Yes.
But I do feel like we might even need to start brainstorming
play
and
a game,
adding where it's like, okay, what's something our listeners can count on, or like something that's so unique that it's like, oh, these girls, they do this thing where they this and whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you do have to stay up with it. And
yeah, that's what's hard because some people just win the lottery and they get viral.
Oh, and it's so frustrating.
Super quick on one video, and then they get thousands of followers, and then they can build on that. But if you're out here grinding, you do have to play the game a little bit and like figure out the algorithm or figure out what's working and then monetize on that.
Well, we had a girl, Melanie, on who she started One Love Babe, and
she's amazing.
She's
so hot.
Yeah. But she was saying on the podcast, she was like, you kind of have to take it as evidence, see what's working. And if it's not working, you just pivot and you just keep trying things until they work. And I love that advice of nothing is concrete and you just have to throw stuff at the wall until it sticks and be okay with that. So if this video is not working, mix up what you're doing. Even all the people who I know in the content creation space, they're like, just keep doing that, be consistent, and something's going to stick.
Yeah. And I've always been told you have to look at each video that someone new is viewing. That it's not like a reoccurring thing, like a sequential, what am I trying to say, you know, like
a sequence of
and so like every time someone is viewing my content, I have to look at it as they don't know who I am. Even though like I do have like followers and like they probably do see video after video,
it's not for them. It's for
not
the people
for them. It's for the
people that don't see it.
Yeah,
that's so true. It's so hard to remember because even us posting on Instagram, I'm like, oh, I don't want to post too many clips or be annoying or whatever. And people are like, no, you're not posting for the people who are following you. Like, you're posting. And I'm like, but I don't want to annoy my followers. You know,
no, I feel the same way.
Do you like Instagram better or TikTok?
TikTok, just because that's where I kind of started and built traction, and then it just, I don't know, it seemed safer for me because I literally knew no one over there, whereas like my Instagram I've had since like high school, and so I have like a lot of eyes on me that I'm like, I don't know if I actually want you to know what I'm, but then when I do meet people in public and they're like, I saw your TikTok, I'm like, oh, no one's supposed to stay on the internet. And
that happens to me all the time. I saw your TikTok. I'm like, how do you know what TikTok is? That thing's public. You forget. You think it's just going out to strangers.
Well, and then you really realize how small of a town we live in.
Yeah.
Because since that one video took off, there's not a time where like I go out and I don't get recognized. And I'm just like, this is the weirdest thing. And it's like at like swimming pools and like at restaurants, and like when someone like comes up and they're like, are you Erykah? And I'm like, please,
are you that bishop's
I don't
wife?
know you. No, really though, they're like, you're the bishop's wife. And I was like, this is the funniest, craziest experience, because I'm like, I'm literally no one. But then that just goes to show like how small our little bubble is over here in Utah,
especially that niche you're hitting on is of course gonna blow up in Utah. Especially,
it was hilarious. We went to dinner, and Demi from The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, she sat next to us with her family, and she was saying hi to me, and her sister goes, are you the bishop's wife? And I was like, you're sitting next to Demi, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I'm nothing. I am no one.
No, but literally, I feel like you are gaining a ton of traction and you have a good following. Give it 6 months, a year. I guarantee it is going to blow up even more. And right now it might be like, oh yeah, like, but in a year it's going to be like, oh yeah.
I hope so.
The bishop's wife.
I really hope. Hopefully I'm not a bishop's wife in a year. Hopefully he's released by then. We've been in our little townhome since we've been married, and he got called into the bishopric, and he was like, well, we can't move because I have this calling. We have to wait till I get released. And then he got called into the bishop. He was like, okay, we really can't move. And that is my end goal, is to be able to make enough money, especially in this economy. Houses are insane right now. We've lived in our townhome, and it's just this humble little place. I love it so much. All of my kids were born and grew up in this home, and I have put so much work into it myself. I truly do love it. I just wish I had a little bit more. And in my time of my life, I thought I would have more than what I'm in right now when it comes to just even a garage. A garage would be nice. And so that is literally my end game, is to be able to make enough money where we could buy a home even in this economy and not feel like we're just house poor.
Oh, that's such a good goal.
That's what I'm doing. Every time I have to take my trash out to my dumpster, I'm like,
I'm going to be rich soon. And
one day I'm going to have my own blue trash can.
I feel like you should share that online. Whenever I see videos like that where they're like a stay-at-home mom and she's like, I'm just trying to make enough to surprise my husband and pay off his truck. And I'm like, girl, I support you. You go. That makes me want to just root for you and make you reach that goal, because you can do it. But it's hard to get there. It takes a lot of consistency that a lot of people try and then they don't stay consistent with it, you know?
Yeah.
But you're going to get there.
Let's hope so.
Oh, no, you will.
Fingers.
Erykah, I feel like we have been talking for like hours.
Sorry,
and
we are a yapper.
No, I'm like loving every second of it. Thank you so much. We'll definitely have to have you come back.
Thank you.
Yeah, and good luck with everything. We'll be cheering you on.
You guys are the best. Thank you so much.
Yes, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.